Hello everyone, how are we doing today? Welcome back to Midweek Marines. Now this video took a little bit longer than expected to come out, but that's okay. I'm trying to get it out before Leviathan comes out, and that comes out in 2 days, so wish me luck. So I found a new technique recently, and it was a technique that 52 Miniatures used on his channel. I'll link the video that I got the idea from up above, but the basic idea is that you basically undershadow, I guess that's the right word. 52 Miniatures got a oil wash and basically put it over a white miniature and then put yellow over the top to create the Imperial Fist colour or yellow Space Marines. Now one of the main reasons I wanted to paint my army yellow is the fact that I've always wanted to paint an army yellow. I'm currently working on some orcs that are also yellow. They just stand out very nicely on the table. Also for the Leviathan, I'm going with the Imperial Fist colour scheme or some sort of sub-faction of that. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to try that with stuff that I already had lying around. So therefore I tried to use Agrax Earthshade instead. And this video, we'll see whether that works or not. Now another reason why I'm doing this technique as well is because it's very quick. And I need to paint the new Leviathan box very quickly. So let's see how this technique gets on when painting Space Marines. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this beautiful Assault Intercessor, and it's primed in White Scar. So next up I'm going to grab some Agrax Earthshade. I'm going to pop this on my wet palette, water it down a little bit and spread it all over the miniature. This is what's going to create our underlayer and a little bit of shadow. It's going to fill up the creases with a little bit of darkness, and it's going to add a nice brown tone to our yellow when we put that over the top. So it should look a little bit like this. I call these my coffee Marines. They've got the jitters, they're not very good at shooting. But with this, it gives us a really good platform to put this yellow Imperial Fist contrast over the top. So it's completely up to you at this point whether you water it down or not. If you do water it down, you're going to get a lighter, paler yellow. And if you don't, it's going to be a really, really vibrant, saturated yellow. I have tried both techniques since filming this video, and personally, I like the more saturated look. But it's totally up to your preference what you want to do, whether you want to water it down or not. Now look at this beautiful guy. You can see where that Agrax Earthshade has filled in those creases, and where the yellow has just emphasized how dark those crevices are. So now I'm going to paint these shoulder pauldrons in German grey. I love this colour. It's like a charcoaly black more than a grey. To be fair, maybe that's what grey means. But it's great for painting over these shoulder pauldrons, and it's not too dark as to dull the model down. I'm going to hit the Aquila with some silver next. This is really weird for me because I usually paint the Aquilas in Brass Scorpion as I do with my other colour scheme. So this is the first time I've ever painted Aquila with silver, so there's a fun fact for you. I'm going to give this a really good coverage, and then I'm going to paint the little skull inside in ivory. Now we're going to go back at it again with the Agrax Earthshade, and I'm just going to cover this Aquila in the middle and the skull with this just to give it a bit of definition and a little bit of emphasis. Now because this is a captain, he's got to be a little bit extra, he's got to stand out a little bit. So we're going to paint his helmet in Mephiston red. We're just going to give it a quick cover, but I'm not going to paint the face mask. I feel like that's quite a nice little area to stand out. So I'm quickly going to block out the weapons in German grey, the same colour that I used for the shoulder pauldrons and the slinkies behind the Space Marines legs. The reason why I'm doing this is so that when I cover it in silver, I don't necessarily have to give it a full coat. I can miss certain areas out, maybe in the creases, just to give it a bit more definition when I go over it with the shade later on. And also it just allows the silver just to sit on there quite nicely. Honestly, this is a quick and easy step. I don't know whether this is really necessary, but I like to put a bit of null oil over the white eyes. I don't usually do the white eyes, to be honest. I normally use a contrast paint. I normally use yellow, but I can't use the same contrast paint as I use for the armor. So I'm just going to use white. I'm going to put some null oil in there, and that's just going to add some definition and basically borders around them. I'm giving the Space Marine panda eyes, okay? I like it. It's nice. I then went on to add a really light silver over the Aquila for some reason. Don't know why I did this. I think I covered it up later on, so it's not really important. And then I went on to paint the weapons in silver. So I really wanted to try something new with this model. So I wanted to try some panel lining. So I used that around the toes and around different areas just to give it a little bit more definition. because maybe I didn't put on enough at the start. I'm not sure yet. Again, I still have to experiment with this. It's still a work in progress, and that's okay. But I did some panel lining and basically bolded out each line, each crack, each crevice. While we're here and we're watching me panel line all of this, I just want to say thank you for watching, guys, and thank you for the love on the last 2 videos that I did. If you do like what I'm doing here, make sure you subscribe and make sure you put the notification bell on so you can see where I can post. If you want a little bit more of a personal connection with me, make sure you follow me on Instagram. I'll put links down below, and my messages are always open for you guys to message me. Show me what you're working on. Show me if you've tried any of the techniques that I've showed you. We'll always love to see it. But again, thank you guys. Let's crack on with this paint scheme. Next, we're going to grab some Flash Gits Yellow, and we're really going to emphasize the sharp edges of this Space Marine's body. We're going to give it a nice bright edge to the knees, the jetpack vent. I don't know, right, look, I don't know anything about lore. Is that a jetpack, or is that a ventilation system, or is that some way of cooling them down? I don't know, but we're going to paint it. We're going to panel line it, okay? That's what we're going to do. And we're going to just make it nice and vibrant. Okay, so we're so very close to having this model finished. The last thing we've got to do is base it, and we're going to throw some of this ground texture on by Green Stuff World. It's like an asphalt, whatever. We're going to slap that on the bottom because it's a really good base for the pigment powders later on. Now, as you can see, I'm an absolute idiot and got some of this on the shoulder pad, and because it's textured, it's just going to show up. So I tried scraping it off, and again, because I'm an idiot, I scraped the paint off as well. So now I've decided I'm going to try my first ever freehand. So let's see how that goes. So my idea is that I'm going to paint the shoulder pad white, and then I'm going to put a black freehand over the top. And I do really like the look of the arrows. I don't actually know what it means lore-wise. I think they're cool. So I'm going to paint an arrow on the shoulder pad, and you know what? Just enjoy this journey, because I struggled a lot. I had to repaint over it and repaint it again. But when you see in the final shots, I think the final version is pretty good. And you know what? Even if it's not perfect, I freehanded it. And I can say I've successfully freehanded something. So you know what? I'm happy with that. And I don't really care what anyone else thinks. And that's the way that you should be. Now, one of my pet peeves is when you see a model that just doesn't merge with a base. And I feel like the easiest way to do this is pigment powders. Now, because my sort of story behind these guys, they live on a desert planet, I'm going to use deserty colors, and I'm basically just going to chuck these everywhere I can. But mainly, obviously, on the base and on the legs as well, because I want to show that they've been walking through this desert landscape for quite a while. So you'll see I will basically plaster it up the legs, and I think, you know what, it gives a really good ombre tone to the legs, and it really makes the Space Marine fit in with its base. Now, last but not least, rim that base. I mean, paint the base black. I use the grey, German grey colour I use for everything else.
So there we go. It's done. I'm very, very happy with this. The freehanding is, the more I look at it, I like it a lot more. I do like the heavy pigment on the sort of ankles. I like that look when I see it on other people's models, so I really wanted to go for that. And I like the simplicity. I can churn out, you know, quite a few of these models quite quickly. I mean, only last night I painted a good, how many? 4 Marines in probably about 3 hours, which, yeah, I was probably taking my time a little bit, but again, they don't look too bad, so it's definitely a colour scheme that I can keep going very easily. Now, there are definitely some benefits to doing this. It allows you to sort of look at the colour wheel and sort of pick what colours you think are going to go well together. Really like this method. It's very quick, and it gives, I mean, with Space Marines it's a lot easier because their armour is all the same colour, but it really just does give that quick, easy technique, and especially when you've got to get some models out because you're doing a crusade. Now, this is my first crusade I'm doing, so I'm very excited about that. But I think, all in all, a very good job. Now, if you want to use this technique yourself, go for it. If you want to ask me any questions, go over to my Instagram. I will message you on there. And make sure you subscribe for more really simple, easy tips to paint models very, very quickly. I will expand. I don't just do Space Marines.
I can do other stuff, and I will expand onto that. I just haven't yet, so bear with me. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe and put the notification bell on, and then you can always see my videos.